Well, thank you very much. Um, every people, every culture has a history, and oftentimes the history dates back to remote times. That is why, at any point in time, those who are living as part of that people and part of that culture encounter what has been in existence for quite some time, either for years or for centuries. So the Diala Osu Ume Amadi, sometimes Diala and Ume Amadi are used locally over in Nsukka Enugu area, what we call Amadi. Here in OWERRI, they call Diala. In any case, so the concepts of Diala, Amadi, Osu, Ume, Ohu are phenomena that pre-existed me and you going back centuries. But what we have seen in our contemporary living is that we have inherited a segmentation that has boiled down to discrimination between Diala, Osu, Ume, and Ohu. Now, the origin of it, we can only trace and imagine, though some history has been written. Part of the history is that the Igbos came to see Allah as a divinity, as the custodian of Igbo culture. And that is why we often talk about Omenala, things that are approved to happen in the land, things that are actions or events that contaminate the land. Now, initially, everybody was supposed to be Diala, which means a full-fledged citizen of Igbo land, or Nwala, and Nwadiala. But along the line, for whatever happened, which we are not too sure of, members of the Igbo community in different parts started to feel the need to placate the Allah divinity because of one problem or the other. In the process, certain persons were sacrificed to the earth divinity or to whatever divinity that they locally worshipped. So human beings were dedicated to, for example, Allah, divinity, or Amadioha, or whatever else. In the process, such persons who were Diala became sacred, alienated from the community. Initially, they were treated with great respect, so much so that if a so-called Osu came to the market, he could take whatever he or she wanted and nothing would happen. But along the line, they began to be treated as outcasts in the community. And along the line, the so-called Diala were no longer buying things from the so-called Osu. And along the line, marriage became forbidden between the so-called Diala and the so-called Osu. In the same way, talk of Ume, people who were considered to be prone to die, and so considered to be a strange sort of people among the Igbo, and they were discriminated against also. That of Ohu is a bit different because in some places, Ohu is treated as outcasts. In some other places, Ohu is simply treated as an economic slave. If one is treated as an economic slave, he can work for a number of years for a particular person and gain his freedom. But the so-called Osu, the so-called Ume, were not given any more freedom. They were considered to be an outcast and discriminated against for life. And this is what we have inherited, that as I was growing up, when I was 15 years of age, way back in 1961, for the first time, a fellow Igbo in the secondary, at the secondary school level in the junior seminary, came secretively to tell me, say, Tony, you know that student, that seminarian with whom you are friendly, do you know that he's Osu? And I said, what is that? I've never heard such a thing. He said, well, if you stay with them, there's something that crawls around them, that it will crawl into me. Well, I didn't identify myself as Diala or Osu or Ume or Uhu. I just saw myself as a child of God at the age of 15 because I was already baptized. I had started receiving Holy Communion. I had been confirmed, and I was now in the junior seminary desiring to become a Catholic priest. So what this fellow was saying did not really enter into my consciousness or mind. Rather, what I did, since I was also doing experimental science, we were studying chemistry and physics and mathematics, we had entered into the new world. I said, well, let me go and find out whether there's anything that crawls around a person called Osu. So I told this my friend that I would come and stay for some days in his family home. But I didn't tell him why I was coming. I simply came, and we used to sleep on the floor, on the mat. We ate together, we went to stream together, we went to mass. And for 3 days, I tried to snoop on him to see if there was anything. I didn't see anything. So I just concluded that this thing is something that has been carried down the ages through insinuation, through indoctrination. But as it is, this is what we have inherited from our ancestors, that for whatever reason, they created a classification of so-called Diala, Nwafo, Eziobara, and those who contaminated blood, contaminated by whom? By the dedication to Arose. And so the Diala started to fear the Osu, whom he had created. But as it is today, it's now a paradox that the Diala created the Osu, but with the coming of Christianity and modern science and humanity, we have discovered that there's nothing like Diala blood. There's nothing like Osu blood. There's nothing like Ume blood. There's nothing like Ohu blood. That we're all children of God. And the Igbos originally believed that we're all Umuchineke. Umuchineke. We keep shouting, Umuchineke. Yet when it comes to associating with people, we begin to discriminate, especially when it comes to marriage and to Ezeship and chieftaincy in Igbo land. So that's where we are, and that's part of why I've been crusading against this discrimination, because it is diabolic, it is obnoxious.